Nachiket sir, Nachiket sir,
Yeah, hello.
can we start the session?
Uh, Actually, I'm just fetching one file. Can we
Okay,
start in 2 minutes?
no problem. Once you
Two
ready,
to,
let me know.
yeah, just 2 to 3 minutes maybe.
Okay,
Actually, I have
okay,
changed my device, so
okay,
just fetching thing.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
चल गाइस हम यहाँ पे चल चल
Nachiket sir, can we start?
Sir, just 2 minutes. I'm just downloading the file now.
Okay.
Actually, it was on my other device, so I've got it emailed to myself. I'm just downloading it because
No
last
issue.
time we had made a partial discussion on the macros, and today we
Okay.
are going to make it more flexible.
Okay. No
So
problem.
that particular file is critical, actually.
No
Sorry for
issue.
the
No
delay.
issue, sir. Okay.
Just a minute. Hello, good evening, everybody.
Yeah, good evening. Can we start, sir, now?
Yeah. We can start
Okay.
now.
Yeah, give
So,
me 1 minute.
yeah.
Good evening, all. Myself, CMA Vinayak Kulkarni and CMA Ashish Bhavsa welcome you all for the series of webinars on Excel Macro. Today is the 8th session of the series. The topic for the today's webinar are error handling, types of errors, automatically handling runtime errors, r- turning off errors, handling after use. The speaker for the entire series is Sri Nachiket Pendakar sir. He is Microsoft certified trainer and Excel macro. I welcome our speaker for the series, Sri Nachiket Pendakar sir. Sir, over to you. Sir, you are muted. Not audible. Hello, you are not audible.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yeah, now it is audible.
Okay. I think some issue with my headset not getting connected. Okay, anyways, I'll keep my headset aside and I hope you can hear me nonetheless.
Yeah,
Please.
no problem. Now you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, sorry for the slight delay in the start. Actually, I'm using a slightly different file today. Sorry, slightly different machine today. And last time we had created a macro actually. When I say created means primarily we had recorded, but then we need to take the discussion ahead with that. And that's where that file was critical. I was obtaining that and that took me some time. So anyways, now without much ado, let me share my screen. I hope everyone can see my screen. So downloads are just getting loaded. And this was the file basically. Okay, I just now downloaded it from internet. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to unblock it. Probably we discussed this before once or twice. Now I have unblocked it. So after unblocking, what happens? The macros can run. So we had done this last time, right? So what kind of a macro was there last time? Let's see that. I will quickly run through this macro because it has been a few days since we visited this last. Okay. So this is Benford's law macro. Benford's law, I hope everybody remembers. What Benford's law is going to do is it is going to basically, it's a statistical law we apply to a data. Okay, data should be a naturally arising data and we should have minimum 1000 records. In fact, here we are having close to 2300 record, more than that. Okay, those many records are there. And secondly, we should have naturally arising numbers. Numerical data is important. So we target it as total trade value and we extract its first digit and we try to summarize it. So while using summary, when we did the recording, we made use of pivot tables. Using pivot tables, we derived the count and converted it into percentage. These are the actual percentages for the data. And this is what Benford's law says as per logarithms. Like there is a formula, 10th base logarithm we derive 1 plus 1 by n, and accordingly we get probabilities. So these are the probabilities that are expected for a naturally arising data. But for actual data, it is this way. So whether there is a difference or no, whether there is any significant difference between the two is something when you draw a diagram you can examine better. So we get to see a few things here. Okay. So one thing is we have the data, we apply a formula, and when we apply the formula, we can see that this first digit is extracted, then we summarize it using pivot tables. Along with pivot tables, we also have a chart. Okay, we made a copy paste of that using paste special and sorry, and then the pivot chart is there. Okay, so I think we went through this macro last time, but I'll probably go through it once more very quickly so that we are on the same page. I'll quickly read the sections that are there. I hope everyone can see my font size here. So Benford's law is the macro, that is the title. And the first real line is this sheets data.select. I think we added this. And then we have a line for last row because I don't know what will be my data of how many records. If I'm making a macro for Benford's law, for as many records as there are, we need to apply this formula, correct? For that purpose, we determine the last row and then we give the headers range n1.select, the first header range n2.select, and then we write the formula. The R1C1 notation is used. Good thing about R1C1 notation is, let me highlight this part. Let me emphasize that if I do convert this to R1C1 reference style, you might see that the formula is uniform everywhere, correct? You can try this at your end also. Okay, refer to any column, RC into square bracket minus 4 is what you can see, correct? The same formula everywhere. I'm changing my cell, but apparently the formula is not changing. So I take advantage of this fact over here. And we have done range n2.select selection.autofill destination. And here we did a concatenate. So I'm adapting to the macro which got generated thanks to the recorder. I'm making slight changes here. Perhaps if I write it from scratch, I will write it differently. But since I'm not writing from scratch, what I'm going to do over here is, previously there was a particular number. I did a concatenate and I attached last row, which is already determined above. So this formula will be copy pasted at once till last row. The harmless line where it merely gets selected, but nothing more we do. Ultimately, we are adding a sheet called pivot. Sheets.add.name pivot. And in that, we are going to create a pivot table. Okay, we are going to create a pivot table with this kind of parameters. Point to be noted is what is your source data? We have an argument or a parameter called source data. And how much is the source data? Running from first row, first column till as far as the row number is concerned, it goes till last row and column is 14. So again, another concatenate has been made where we have involved the last row. We had done this last time itself, but now we have done a concatenate. Okay, so you can go through that. Where this pivot table needs to be placed in this sheet, in this cell. So all these are the different parameters. What should be the name of the pivot table? Everything is given. Then sheets pivot dot select cells 3, 1 dot select, and then we end up building the pivot table. And in the whole process, too many arguments are being controlled. Do we need such a superfluous code? Is something we need to determine. But assuming that I'm not going to touch anything because this also gives me an opportunity to get exposed to this code. So I did not delete anything. Okay, and then one or two more things are handled here. ultimately, this is most important. Sorry, not this part. All this is fine. So what goes in? This part is also important actually. This part is important. Here what we are doing is we are basically building the pivot table. So while you have inserted pivot table as a concept, what you are doing is you drag and drop and you need to specify, right, which field goes where. So you drag and drop first digit as a field in rows, and that's written here. So orientation is Excel row field, position is it is at number 1, and which field are we talking about? So field name is first digit. Okay, this goes in your row field. Then similarly, I'm going to add first digit in the value field also. Okay, where what am I doing here? The pivot fields, they don't use the word values, they use pivot fields. So your pivot fields is first digit where you are deriving a count. Okay, this count of first digit is its header and you are deriving a count, and then we converted that into percentage where percentage is percent of the total. So we did a number of things with the pivot table. We built the fields. Then if you remember what we did last time, I clicked here, value field settings, and we went to show values as, and from no calculation, I selected percent of grand total. All these got recorded, and then percent of total or percent of grand total comes here. We go to C3, we write PL percent. So this is some outside the pivot table manual activity. So we come to this C3 cell. This is as per A1 notation. And over here, PL percent is written as a header. And then we write a formula. Active cell range in C4.select. In C4, we are putting this formula, which is in R1C1 notation. The formula is in R1C1 notation. Where it is being put, it is being put in C4. And that C4 is written in A1 notation. So this is A1 notation and this is R1C1 notation. Okay, so a mixture of the two. And we are dragging this till the 12th row. And I had asked one question last time. I would like to remind you about that question. What question did I ask? I had asked this question that between C4 to C12, if that is my range, okay, running from C4 to C12, should we make this range a variable range? That was the question. Okay, should we make it variable? So the answer is we'll not make it variable. We'll run from the 4th row till 12th row. Will not really make it variable. Because the simple point is, will you have any digits other than the 9 digits? Ordinarily, in some other case of pivot tables, we would have done this as variable, but not in this example, because here we are merely content with 9 values. There is no 10th value that will ever arise. So that's the simple idea. And then what's happening? Then we select this range. We give it a particular format. All that is fine. Number format is percentage. Then between B3 to C12, we select, we copy, we come to A18 and we paste. Do we need to change any of these parameters? All this got generated thanks to the recorder. Do we need to change anything? We had discussed it that time. Let me throw it open for discussion now also. I mean, we are not going to change our decision, but let's quickly understand why we took this decision in the first place. That's because this is going to be 90. Same answer. Will you expect the dimensions getting changed anytime? The answer is no. If you don't expect this will change, so your range is going to be a static range. You can very well assume that. Keep your life simple. B3 to C12, select dot copy, come to A18 after leaving some margin, and you are going to do a paste special. And then scroll and come down, and then you are going to add a chart. So that chart definition is given here. What is the source of that chart? So data source is given. The name of the sheet is pivot. This is not to be confused with a pivot table per se. Okay, this is the name of the sheet. The sheet name is pivot, and that sheet name has come here. And A18 is here, colon B27. That's your source, which again can be taken as static. So I'm going to add a chart. While adding that chart, the source data is here. And then maybe some width and all, one or two things. I think I manually changed the dimensions a little. And in that process, what happened was that this window, this chart became a little bigger, big enough so that you can see it. One can see it. Okay. And that was the end of the story. Did you understand this macro by and large? Okay, anyone has any questions at a conceptual level on this macro? This came out of our recording. Okay, I'm not talking about nitty gritties, one particular line, one particular code. What is it? We are going to test it now. So that time we'll do a line by line testing. That time I will handle specific questions. But right now I've given you an overview of the macro. Okay, which is, you can see a recap of what we did last time. Okay, so when it comes to the broad concept, I would like to know whether anybody has any questions to ask on the broad concept. Then you can ask those. Shailaja ji has written no. Maybe it was related to that question. And others also, I would like to ask this. If anybody has any questions at the broad concept level, ask me now. Yes. Otherwise, if you are broadly comfortable, we can go ahead with the testing part. And while doing testing, again, many points will come up. Don't be under the impression, at least I'm definitely not assuming that our macro is over. Probably today's session will be required by the time it will be through. Okay.
Sir,
So
session
we'll do
recording has
the
not yet
testing
started.
and at that time we'll see the nitty
Hello.
gritties associated with it. Yeah, somebody was saying something. Yeah, let's go ahead with step-by-step testing. And that time,
Session recording has not yet started, sir.
sorry,
Session recording has not yet started.
It has
today.
already
Oh,
been
oh,
started, sir.
I
Okay, sorry,
think,
sir. Sorry.
yeah, because I
It is
also
not
got
visible
that
to us.
message.
Sorry.
Okay, I think recording is on. So let's go ahead with the testing part. And what I do ordinarily is I just resize this macro window. I had mentioned this before also. Let me repeat it. I would like to resize this window since my screen is already magnified. I have limited space. So I'm going to close this project VBA project, which is the project explorer. I'm closing it because I've got limited space. It's not compulsory. And ordinarily, I don't do that when I'm just testing by myself. But right now I'm going to do that. I'll keep it here. And parallelly, I will also activate the SXI. Okay, is everyone ready? Can we go ahead with the testing part of this? I want everybody's keen attention in any case. See, if you can do this parallelly with me, please do that. I'm strongly recommending that. But just in case one or two individuals, in case you feel you will struggle while testing and so at the very least, be very attentive and be very much involved. Ideally, you should test with me, but if that is going to impact your attention, then be attentive and I will arrange to send this file to you ultimately, which gets finalized. Okay, but doing it with your own hand has its own level of understanding. You will understand it much better and it will really get into your blood, so to say. Okay, so do it ideally with me. If you can't, at least listen, at least pay attention. So I'm going to press F8, sheets data.select. I directly jump here. I'm going to make my discussion slightly faster from first gear. Now I'm going to put my car in the third gear. Okay, not really in the fifth gear, but at least in the third gear, so that we can proceed with reasonable pace. I'm not going to discuss why we skip that second line, which is green in color. I suppose by now everybody knows that green lines are non-executable codes. In fact, they are not even codes. They need not be codes. They are remarks actually. So sheets data dot select, I come here, and when I execute that line on pressing F8, I'm on F8 mode right now. This is called as break mode. So thanks to the first real line of the code, sheets data has got selected. The next line is last row equal to so and so, so and so. So basically what it's going to do is it will compute your row count. It will ascertain your row count, which right now, as you can see, as I brought my cell pointer there, sorry, mouse pointer over there, it is displaying 10,48,576. That is the row count of your worksheet. It will go to the last row in short, and from there within a column it will come up. So dot end excel up dot row. So while my active cell is in 9th row, you might see in my case, the active cell is in the 9th row and it doesn't change its position. But when I press F8, nonetheless, which is the last row gets successfully captured. Okay, if I'm looking at Excel as a user, then I need to navigate and really check out. I need to actually go to the last cell and come up, or I need to go to the first column and maybe press Control down arrow key. That way I need to really reach there to understand where have I reached and which is that dead end over there. That's not the situation if you are going to write a command. You don't need to change the selection. You don't need to activate what you are targeting. Okay, so I get my last row successfully. Okay, those who are trying with me, I hope you are with me. You are also getting the last row. The last row figure is here. Now the next command is range n1.select. Quite self-explanatory. When I press F8, now I've got this dot select, so it goes there. Now just for fun, what I'll do is, I should have done this before, but I'll do it now. I'll remove, when I say remove means I'll just press delete key. I'll select this column and press delete key so that I get rid of these values. Okay, that is first thing. Then second thing, pivot sheet is there. I'll delete this sheet. I'll do a right click for this sheet and I'll delete it. Okay, so let's say we have only the data. What's there in sheet 3? Something was there. I'll remove sheet 3 also. Let me just declutter and kind of just keep the bare minimum things. Okay. So what I've done, I had some formula in 14th column, that is KLMN. It was the N column. Okay. I removed that and then I removed the pivot sheet also. And now I think we are prepared for the next thing. So active cell dot formula R1C1 equal to first digit. What is my active cell? My active cell is N1. Just in case you have moved your active cell in the whole process, you can always click and drag it back. I'll take this pretext to discuss this concept once more, that while doing testing and debugging, you can always click on this with the help of your mouse. You can click on this yellow arrow. You can either push it ahead or pull it back as per your choice. I'm just pulling it back and I'll press F8. So I definitely come to N1 and in that active cell, I'm going to put first digit. I'm not going to read each and every word and each and every letter now. The code is open in front of you. You can also read it. I can also read it. I'll probably focus more on what it conveys, what that line conveys. And if there are any keywords, I will discuss them. I won't read each and every letter, each and every word, each and every code line also maybe. Okay. At any point of time, needless to say, anybody can ask questions. So I'll press F8. Next is come to N2. And there I'm going to put the formula. What is the formula? I'm using left function. I'm using RC square bracket -4. That means 4 columns to the left. If my column number is 14th column, as you might see on my screen, if my column number is 14, 14 minus 10, 4 is going to be 10. So when I press F8, it refers to the 10th column, doesn't it? If I come to Excel and if I press F2, you can see it is referring to the 10th column. Same row as the active cell row, but column will be 10th column. Then range N2.select. And then the next line is going to be interested because till here it was primarily what had got recorded, but this line I slightly modified. While I took the help of recorder, I tried to bring in more flexibility using that concatenate. Sorry, concatenate towards the end, right? So when I press F8, does it work? You can check. Selection or autofill destination. I had this and last row. So apparently it works for a few initial rows at least. If I come back to Excel, if I press Control down arrow key, does it go perfectly till the last row? It does, doesn't it? Right, 2, 3, 5, 9, neither, not a single row more, not a single row less. So I think this is what we desire, don't we? If we can do this, it will be a significant achievement in our automation exercise. Okay, is this happening at your end? Shashidharanji, I think you have a question. You have raised your hand, it seems. Please go ahead.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How do I get the yellow arrow? I'm getting
Sorry.
only the toggle one.
So toggle one you are getting, are you? So when you
and it
click
is going
here,
only
you are getting
between
this
the.
brown colored one.
Yeah.
So you click on that once more so that it goes away. First thing, okay? Because
Okay.
you have got unnecessary breakpoints. So you click once more and get rid of that. That is the first thing. Second thing is when I suppose you were trying that dragging yellow arrow up or down. Okay. When
No,
you
I
bring
didn't
your
get the
mouse
arrow
pointer
now.
close to that,
Yeah.
then the mouse pointer changes its shape. Right now
I'm
it's
not
just
getting the mouse pointer over there. That is the problem.
you're not getting it.
I'm not
You're
getting the
not
mouse
getting the
pointer.
mouse pointer where? In the margin.
Yeah, in the margin.
Oh, it's not going there. Because we need
Do we
that.
do some F6 or something we did last time for that?
So let me check if there is any. So F9 was for the breakpoints. But can't you see this yellow arrow? You can see the yellow arrow. Can you click and drag? No. Would you be in a position to share your screen possibly? What I can do is I'll stop sharing my screen for a moment. If you can share your screen, if what's your name, ma'am? Hello, ma'am. What is your name? Sorry, what's your name, you said? I'm not able to hear
Hello?
it. Hi, yeah.
Can you
What's
hear
your
me,
name?
sir?
Yeah,
Shailaja.
now I can.
Shailaja. Just a minute.
Shailaja, okay, Shailaja, ma'am.
Only meeting organizers and presenters can share it, is saying that
Correct. Let me see if I can temporarily promote you to an organizer. Shailaja BR, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, even I'm not having that one. Virat
It's
Kulkarni,
okay.
sir. if it is possible, can you promote Shailaja ma'am temporarily as a panelist or something? Presenter?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, ma'am. So Shailaja ma'am, you are a
Yeah.
presenter now. So if you present yours,
Okay, yeah.
then we will be in a position to see what's going wrong. You click on that up arrow on MS Teams. That way you will be able to share your screen. Now you come to the macro first. You need to come to the macro window.
I'm at the macro. Can you see the macro window, sir?
No, I think you have shared only the Excel. Share the entire screen. So there is an option of screen 1 at the extreme left. You stop sharing once more and reshare. And while resharing, you have the option of screen. Okay, the one at the extreme left is screen 1 or something. So you click on that screen 1.
Entire screen.
Entire screen, yeah. So then any application I can see or any window.
So now can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Visual Basic.
Your screen. Have you shared it?
Yeah.
I'm not able to see your screen.
None of my screens.
Not visible.
I'll
You need
just go to the Chrome
press
tab and
OK.
share.
Have you pressed OK at the bottom?
Yeah, yeah.
See, I'm sharing my
Can you
screen.
see?
This
Can
way.
you see, sir?
I'll stop mine. You need to click on that. You need to click on that screen 1. Somehow did not happen. Isn't it
And now?
happening? Now I think the screen is getting shared.
So the
Yes, now I
cursor
can
I'm
see.
getting.
See, first of all, you remove the break. And you are not, your macro is not on. You haven't turned it on. You remove the breakpoints, you click on that margin once more. You click on the margin. You are doing a right click. Just click on that. Okay. Now you press F8. First of all, let it start. You have got something in blue color. I don't know what is that.
That is a. I think toggle में there are two keys, no?
Okay, no problem.
One is
You can ignore
breakpoint
that
and
for the moment.
bookmark. The bookmark is not going.
Okay. Fine, no problem. Just press F8. You haven't started actually your macro. Press F8.
Okay.
You are
Okay, got
pressing
it, sir.
F9, ma'am.
And I got it. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
now you will have to
I'll-
press F8 and do one by one each step.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing now, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I'm sharing my screen now. Okay. So I think till autofill we had reached, right? Selection.autofill destination, we had seen that happened. My case. So my last row value is. I have to keep it on N2. And then if I press F8, now it goes ahead. Yeah. Okay, the active cell should have been N2. Okay. Now this range needs to be selected. Then range J1 dot select. I go to J1. This is something happening unnecessarily. Application dot cut copy mode equal to false is also quite unnecessary. And now we are going to add a sheet. And this is something probably we borrowed it from pivot table or no, I think from macro code library we got it. This was not generated by default. So we had a macro code library and using that this got generated. So I'm going to press F8 and a new sheet gets added. Okay, and as it gets added, automatically uh, one more thing happens, it also gets renamed. So in a one step, sheets.add.name equal to pivot. And here we are going to create a pivot table. This is a blank sheet to begin with. And in this sheet, we are going to create a pivot table. How? With all these parameters. So when I press F8, what happens is I get a blank pivot table to work with. Okay, on the right side, if I click on this, on the right side, you can see the field list and everything. Okay, this is the code for a pivot table. This is a blank pivot table. And then by default, because the sheet got added, it was in 1, 1. So now I say you come to this sheet, cells 3, 1 dot select. So we can see the headers, not headers, sorry, the fields. Okay, now all the fields are visible. So macro itself takes it to 3, 1. Okay, you don't have to move to 3, 1. And then with active sheet dot pivot tables, we are doing all these things. Why we are doing, God knows. So many, all this and every argument. Too much of superfluous code. But okay. Everything is captured. All this game in recording. So I'm just kind of moving briskly now, just pressing F8, F8, F8. These are all settings that are being.
So when I press F8, it says table name already taken pivot because I
So
already have a
you might
yeah.
not have deleted the sheet. Have you deleted the sheet? Delete the existing pivot sheet and rerun
Okay,
that
okay,
part.
okay. Yeah, got it.
You have got 2 pivot sheets actually. Okay, so all these are properties. For some reason, they got captured in the recording. But fundamentally, all these are properties. We are not keen on changing any of the properties, so this doesn't mean much to us. Now I'm going to press F8. Repeat all labels. Okay. And now most important part is this row. This first it goes in rows. This part is most important. So at the end of it, what happens? In my rows, I've got from this width, if I start and go up to end width, in this rows, first digit has gone. Similarly, we want first digit in values. Okay, so when we put first digit in rows, we get a list of all these between 1 to 9. But beside them, we want that counts. So what am I going to do? So that's the next one. When I press F8, I get the count. So this has gone directly in count. I think I made a mistake. I changed the active cell. No, it is. I don't know. This is going to be a problem. Okay, let me try this part once more. What I'll do is I'll just delete this sheet. Let me start from scratch because I might have changed some active cells, I'll just drag this back right up to that part where the sheet had got inserted. Okay, starting from here, sheets.add.name equal to pivot. New sheet gets added, pivot table gets created, 3, 1, and all these settings are set. This is going somehow. Okay, we will see this. We'll see how to handle this particular part. And probably we'll have to do it immediately. I don't know whether this is happening at your end, but it is very much happening at my end. Wherein,
Yes, yes, same thing.
what when I did the recording, these two got recorded, but when I run them, actually, what's happening is that previously the field was a part of rows, and then additionally, I want that in values. Now it is only in values, but no more in rows. So what? Now some jugad, okay? I will try to do one thing. What if I have it at the end of this one? Okay, this action will reset my project. Okay, let me just finish with this end with. Let me try this thing. The accuracy.pivot tables, pivot table 2, pivot fields, first digit. Now, if I read this, okay, dot orientation Excel field. Or pivot fields, first digit. Okay, for some reason, this is not coming very cleanly. Now, this happens sometimes. Now, this is actually illogical. It has happened. So, what I can do is I have many times resort to Googling because this is a code which got generated through recorder. So, not that I wrote something. So, I just asked Google Baba how to add a field in. So, I always start with Excel VBA. Okay. Excel VBA, how to add a field in pivot table rows as well as values. So I've just written it the way I wanted to say. So I get more than a row in a multi-level pivot table. But is this Excel VBA? Let us just see what we get here. It's something you need to try. But we don't have this as a VBA lesson though. But I do come here over here something. Okay, I think this code might help us. This is a little better precise code. Just give me a moment, I'll connect my charger, then we can see it further. Okay, now I am inclined to believe that this can help us perhaps, because we have got this code by Googling with active sheet dot pivot table so and so dot pivot field so and so dot orientation. Now, how can I take advantage of what I've Googled? Now we already have this. Okay, with active sheet dot pivot tables, which pivot table 2, which pivot field, first digit, dot orientation row field, and dot position equal to 1. Can we also add one more dot orientation? So wherein I'll write dot orientation for the second time, and I'll write Excel data field. Okay. So how I wrote it, I wrote everything in lowercase. Okay, I wrote everything in lowercase. It's extremely important. Okay, let me just show it once more. I'm writing everything in lowercase. Ideally, I don't write, but I suppose many of you will be writing. So I'm also writing. If at all I write everything in lowercase. If I write in lowercase and when I hit enter, the keyword should automatically become capital. The key alphabets like O in orientation, D in data, F in field. And then the next is dot function. So I can again write dot function. To Excel count. And dot name equal to, we want a particular name, right? So we have this count of first digit. We're going to write that. So this is its name, count of first digit. Okay, function is count. And then we have a number format also. Dot calculation and dot number format, which I get from here. Probably I can put it here. So in fact, I can do one thing. I can just cut it from here. And I can paste it here. Okay. I'll just try to do one thing. I'll deactivate these two lines. Okay, so what I've done is, I realized on second thoughts that we already had with active sheet dot pivot tables, pivot table 2 dot pivot fields. And just that we need to rename this as first field. First field. Okay, this is going to reset my project. Okay, I'll let it reset my project. I'll start it from 0. So basically this line is now identical. Okay, this line and this line is now identical. What I'm doing is I'm doing this twice. Okay, I deactivated this code. I'm doing it twice with active sheet dot pivot tables, pivot table 2 dot pivot fields first digit. its orientation is Excel row field and position is 1. And with that same field, I'm doing one more thing. I'm putting it in Excel data field also. Function is Excel count, name is count of first name, and so on. Does this work? Let us see. I'm not sure. This only after testing and come to. Okay, so what I had to do in the whole process was I had to reset my project. In order to make these changes, I had to reset my project. So what I'll do is I'll come back here. I'll delete my pivot sheet. And what I'll do is I'll place a breakpoint here. Maybe on this point. Okay, everything else is fine. Till here, it looks fine to me. Till here, there is no problem. Okay, but at this point, what happens? Let me see how it behaves. Okay, I have put a breakpoint here. And then I'm going to press this green button, run. Let it go at its own speed and reach till here. Then I want to test this portion. So I press this run button. And in a split second, I get it executed. There are no loops also here. So what I'm doing is I just deactivated it. Yeah. Sorry, not deactivated. Sorry, stopped here. Like a pause thanks to this breakpoint. I've taken a break. So I'm going to remove the breakpoint. Whenever a breakpoint is hit upon and the macro stops its execution, what I ordinarily do is I remove the breakpoint immediately. Okay, so what do I have now? I've got a blank slate in 3,1. I can see the fields, this layout is completely empty. I made some changes in the macro. Now let us see how it behaves. Initially, there should not be any problem. So dot orientation, dot position is 1, end with, this looks fine to me. Now let us see whether the second part happens. In the second part, the same first digit, I'm going to put it in data field. Does it happen? Let us see. So when I press F8, now I get it. This works. Function is count. Name is count of first digit. Calculation is percentage. Number format is this. And this. So this works. This works. Okay, has everyone understood it? Have you all understood this part?
No, sir.
So I came across some issue thanks to the macro, thanks to the recorder, the code did not get generated very cleanly. And then I was required to do some Googling. What did I Google with? You are going to require this. I used some keyword here, key phrases. And I came across some noble person had written some code and had made it publicly available. Thanks to that, I got it. So I normally put a prefix Excel VBA. Excel VBA, or you can write Excel VBA code. What? How to add a field in pivot table rows as well as values. So I wrote something that was there on my mind, and I checked one or two links, and I came across a code which I felt would work. Okay, for the ready reference of everyone, I'm going to paste this much portion of the code in the chat box. Okay, this is what we need to learn. Okay, we need not know VBA. But can we put some proper keywords in Google so that we can search and we can do an assembly job? That is very helpful. Even if you can do an assembly job, that is sufficient, not an issue. So now this looks cool to me. I've got this count of first digit, no problem on that. One small difficulty there, I could overcome it. Now the other part should be fairly easy, I feel. Range C3 dot select. I come there. Then this BL percentage C4 dot select. I put up a formula that is log 10 based formula. And when I press C4, I do an autofill. Uh, things are perfectly hard coded here actually. Should they be hard coded? Maybe no, but doesn't matter. Then C4 to C12, select that percentage, style is percentage. Then we increase 1 decimal, 2 decimals. This is quite self-explanatory. Then we select this part, we copy it, and we go to A18, we do a pay special values and number formats. Now look at pay special. Even when it comes to pay special, I would like to draw your attention to this. So many extra things get generated. What we want is simply this. What? Not a control V, but what we want is paste values and number formats. On the other hand, what we get here is operation is none, skip blanks is false, transpose is false. So if it is supposed to be false, why are we even talking about that? That's how the recorder behaves. It is going to generate extra code to a significant extent. Your macro will bloat in size. Can't help it. Anyways, I'm going to take it right now the way it comes. I'm not going to really delete anything. Okay, so this got pasted. For some reason, I did a scrolling, I believe some scrolling happened. And then I'm adding a chart. Please note that while adding the chart, this data is already highlighted. I directly add, a chart gets created in the background. I get a chart like this. Okay, this chart comes automatically. What is its source data? That is also set just in case there was any confusion. And then I just make it a little bigger. Okay, just for demo sake. Let me bring it here. So I'm making it slightly bigger and slightly further taller also, both the directions. That's it. We have reached to the end. Now we have end sub. If I press F8, this macro will be over. So I am through. Everything else was okay. We had fixed it last time itself. Last time also we went from first line to last line. And wherever required, we made some changes. Okay. While testing, we came across only one portion where we faced some difficulty. Where frankly, when I was a bit stumped for a few seconds, I was not sure what to do. Then I surrendered in front of Google Baba, and Google Baba gave us this solution. So when you have Google Baba with you, you don't have to fear, because if you don't know a particular code, why it is behaving this way, that way, you need to Google, and then there will be loads of documentations available on internet, web pages, many of them. Just make use of a suitable portion of code. So in the process, I got this alternate way of defining the data field. Okay. Just as my orientation. So I'm using the same format here. Basically, the idea is very simple. I have the same format, but I'm saying my orientation is Excel data field. If your orientation is Excel data field, then what is the function that you're using? I'm saying I'm doing a count. I'm not doing a sum. I'm not doing a max. I'm not doing a min. I'm doing a count. What name you would like to have, what calculation you would like to have. I mean, dot calculation comes into picture only if it is a data field, and what number format. So all this is with respect to this. Okay, alternate way of writing this could have been, okay, could have been this way. Alternately, I could have written it this way. Another method is you write it this way. So active sheet dot pivot table dot pivot fields dot orientation equal to Excel data field. Okay. This I will paste a number of times. Yeah, I paste it some 6-7 times. Dot orientation. Then we have dot function. Function equal to Excel count. Okay. Then we have dot name. Name is this. Then we have dot calculation. Then we have dot number format. These two are extra lines. So this is an alternate presentation. Either you make use of with, you say with this particular animal, I would like to change its orientation. I would like to set it orientation this way, set its function this way, set its name this way, set its calculation this way, set its number format this way, and then with this do this A, B, C, D, E, and then end with. Okay, so this is like taking this out as a common factor, and whatever is uncommon, only those portions you write. Common factor you don't have to repeat on every line. Another idea, another possibility is you can have it this way, that the common portion you are repeating on every line. Should you repeat the common portion on every line? Not necessary. Then you can use with and end with. So I'm just discussing over here what is with and end with and how is it different from other way of writing. Have you understood with and with? So with a particular common factor, do these A, B, C, D, E. Okay, either of them will do. Both the commands are correct. Both the codes are correct, and both the codes will work. There's nothing like one is right and the other is wrong. One. So I'll just do one thing. I will disable it because it will be double work. I'm not deleting it since I have anyways written it. I'm not deleting it. Let it stay for future reference. But I'm going to disable it. Okay, any questions, anybody? Yes, Shashidharan ji, you have a question? I think you have. Yes, you can ask it now. Please go ahead. Shashidharan sir, you can ask your question. Krishna Survey could not do with the modifications. No problem, Krishna ji. What I suggest is maybe there are some mismatches between our things. I will arrange to send this file. Somehow I could not hear you.
Okay, sir.
Could others hear him? Let me just check.
Okay, sir.
I'm actually at a different place today. So
Okay.
now I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead. Who was speaking? Shashidharan ji, are you speaking? I think Shashidharan ji, your voice is not audible for some reason. Maybe you can try typing it in the chat box if that's possible to you. Just give me a moment. Just if you can, please tell us also how exactly did we Google search. So I figured out that there's some problem with this. When I was executing, this code was alive at that point of time. Now I have disabled it, but it was alive. And what I noticed was the same field name got involved here also. And then there was a line with a different syntax. Thanks to that, the work done in this first 3-4 lines is getting nullified. Okay, so the field getting added in row field is getting nullified when these two lines, in fact, it's only one line of code, just broken into two lines. It's actually a single command. How can I say so? Because there is an underscore at the end. Okay, whenever you see an underscore at the end, it is basically a line break. So a line break has happened. If you don't want the line break for ample clarity, because sometimes line breaks could be a little confusing. So another way is I can present it this way. I can remove those backspaces and I can remove the underscore. This was the line. So this line was effectively nullifying what was done previously. And that was troublesome for me because I wanted both the same field first digit to go in the row field as well as in the data field. So I was not sure how to tackle that. And this happens, you won't know each and every code, right? So I disabled it and then I Googled. While Googling, I thought this is how I should be framing it. So I just wrote Excel VBA. You can even write Excel VBA code as a standard prefix because you are not interested in pivot tables per se. There can be loads of web pages which are talking about pivot tables, how to add fields in rows and values, but that is manually using mouse. We are not interested in that. We want the Excel VBA code. So I use that as a standard prefix for everything. First thing Google should read is Excel VBA code and then it should read code for what. So eventually when I was just somehow I came across this one, I thought this is something I should be checking. So when I click on this one, this web page, this gentleman, whoever created this Excel champs, this person has written things very nicely. You may even otherwise go through this Excel champs, whatever is getting generated. But I skipped many things and I came to that portion on how to insert a data field. Because if I disable this line, then my problem is how will I insert the data field? So I went to his section and then I discovered, oh, it's the same syntax primarily. So you are talking about active sheet.pivot tables, which is the name of the pivot table. This is the name of the pivot table. Within that, which field are we talking about? This field we are talking about. Because we started with a width, eventually we have an end width. And in between you play with the properties. What should be its orientation? What should be its function? What should be its number format? What should be its name? So I typed it actually. I typed it, but ordinarily I prefer to copy paste. Yeah. Had it be only me and me doing this, I would have copied this and pasted at once. But I think I typed it. Or I might have copy pasted also, I don't remember. And these two things were automatically there down. Somewhere it was already there, so I just borrowed from there. And eventually I created this block. This block is in addition to this block. Okay, the first block at the top is putting that field in the row field. So you don't have many parameters about that. Okay, only dot orientation, dot position. But here you have many parameters, dot orientation, dot function, dot name. And define everything at the end of it, you get the pivot table because there are two blocks one after the other. So both the things happen. Okay, I was only concerned about that to my good fortune. Both the things happen. Sometimes I'm not so fortunate. Let me admit it. But sometimes I have to keep doing research again and again and again and again, visit various web pages, and then eventually I might get the code. After maybe half an hour or 1 hour, if I don't get the code, often what I do is I post questions on forums. So there are many online forums on which a question is posted. To be honest with you, recently I haven't posted anything on any forum, but previously I used to use some forums, Stack Overflow and all. Now these days I haven't come across those kind of codes much where I really had to approach someone. So now many codes have got compiled also. And by basic Googling we get these days. Google has also grown. The web pages have grown. So many web pages we have. So ordinarily we get. Okay. And the rest of the part was easy. So have I answered your question, Shashidharan ji?
Okay, sir. I was just trying to understand how do you look for the specific code where
Correct.
you are getting bugged up. So I think that with this information, we can again redo it because
Correct.
we are not able to, follow the way we are doing it. We are not able to locate it in the code in our Visual Basic and exactly repeat what you were doing. So now you have told us how to locate it. I think we can do the
Correct.
practice back, sitting
Yes,
back.
practice is very important. So you start practicing on codes that you want. What what kind of a code you want? Like what do you want to achieve? You try to explain what you want to achieve. So what I wanted to achieve here was,
Sir,
if I go
now, now,
back.
now, now that we know where to look for the guide, with the help of the
Right.
guide, maybe probably we can do our own troubleshooting and
Yes,
maybe
yes. So I
finalize
just
it.
described what I wanted to achieve.
Okay, I
You
will
can
do that.
describe in your
Thank,
own words. And so this is
thank you.
my,
Thank you
what
for
came
this
to my
input, sir.
mind first I wrote. Tomorrow I may, for the same job, I might write word it differently. But
Okay.
Google search engine is so smart now that it can still produce relevant, meaningful results for you. Okay. So just get into this code, this mode and keep practicing.
The thing is, when you get stuck in a code, when you come with an error message in debugging, you actually have to go through the code and find out what exactly is the stage at which you are getting stuck. Whether it is what is the activity where it is getting stuck, like inserting a field or selecting a field. Once you
Correct.
identify that, then Google for the actual code for that one and again
Correct.
come
Correct.
back and test it. Okay, sir. Thank you for the input. We'll do it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. So Krishnaji's problem is also solved, I think. So I think let's move ahead. So now our macro is ready. But one small part, I thought somebody will point this out, but apparently nobody pointed out, is now if I'm running it for the next data, then what should happen? This pivot sheet should get deleted. Na? There might be an existing pivot sheet. First you have to delete it, then you can run the macro, truly speaking, correct? I mean, before you have this line, we have this line sheets.add.name. Before this line gets executed, should we first check whether there is an existing pivot sheet? If yes, we can delete it and then we can replace it. Because we are having another round of execution. This macro is for our continuous use. Macro is not for one-time use. It is for continuous use. It can be used in your cost audits every day. So you put your data and you run the macro. Now, before that, just check whether you have an existing pivot sheet. If yes, delete it and then go ahead with this. So this is something we had already developed, if you remember. Okay, I'm just giving that to you as a pointer. Uh, I really need to check. We have it here. It may or may not be there here, but we had done at that table of contents macro, if you remember. And in that we were testing whether there is an existing sheet using a loop. Okay, using a loop, is there an existing sheet called pivot? Then we delete. And that time we had also learned about how to disable the application or the display alerts. Okay, so we have it here. Huh. So table of contents, I can see the table of contents macro here. Uh, but it's you might be having it at your end. I think I have fit. Okay, let me check once more. Must be on my drive. Oh, I don't have it in my OneDrive. Neither do I have it in the download section. For some reason, I don't have it here. Okay. When did we do that? Anybody remembers? No, I don't have it. Okay, not an issue. Okay, that's a supplement that you can add up. Or let me just see if I can finish it off. So one way of addressing that, I don't really have to, probably you can copy paste, I'll quickly type. Okay, so it's a loop, right? For I equal to 1 to sheets dot count. Okay, so I'm just typing it at my own speed. And the moment I put for, I put next also. Okay, what am I doing? I'm going to run through the loop. And what do we do? So I'm going to write something very simple. Sheets I dot select. Okay, so we select the ith sheet. Then if I don't remember what I wrote, I might have used variable for active sheet.name. I'm directly writing it. Loop pivot. Then and then we did a pause break. We took a line break. Now my habit is if I type then and then if I press enter twice, thrice, immediately first I write endif. Because after then, if you have taken a line break, you should immediately write endif. And then I would write application dot display alerts equal to false. And then active sheet dot delete. I already don't type, honestly speaking. I copy paste, but right now I don't want to spend time on even alt tab. So I'm doing typing. And then this line can be pasted once more and you turn it on. That's it. That's all you need. So this is the code. Okay, very quickly I have reproduced the code here. This is a loop running from for till we're going to select the ith sheet. If active sheet dot name is pivot, then you are going to turn off the display alerts. You will delete the sheet. You will turn the display alerts back. Acha, one more thing. You can write your exit for because then there is no need to waste your time for the other sheets. If the third sheet is pivot, why do you need to go for the other sheets? I don't know how many sheets are there. If there are 10 sheets for whatever reasons, one of them is pivot, the third one I'm going to delete that and then I'm going to get out. And now definitely at the end of this exercise, what happens? At the end of this, I definitely don't have a sheet called pivot. Correct? I don't have a sheet called pivot. So I can very well add it and then the rest of the macro can be taken. Okay, so I have developed this. This portion exists in your table of contents macro, which I'm not able to locate right now. I think it's on my other laptop. So I have typed it anyways. Does this work? Now I can quickly do the testing of that. What I'll do is I'll come back here. Sorry. This one. Okay. And what I'll do right now is I'll just come to developer tab. Macros. I can see my macro, Benford macro. I'll press the run button. And it runs, it happens. Okay, this thing is another point that I notice is this is getting copied. Copied and there is a page special, but we are not getting rid of the copied matter. The moving hands is still there. Okay, so I'll do one more thing. In my code, I have this line application.cut copy mode equal to false. For some reason, it got generated unnecessarily. Where it is necessary, it did not get generated. Where it was unnecessary got generated. Now I copy that one and I'm going to paste it. The moment I finish my paste special, paste special I'm finishing here. So I'm going to put here application.cut copy mode equal to false. Okay, I'm going to copy and come to A18. Then I'm going to paste it and then I'm going to turn off the copy. So now if I run it once more, here's my Benford macro. I press the run button and I get a feeling as if a new macro is generated. A new thing is generated. Okay, have you understood this part? Okay, whether you could do this at your end or no is another thing. But logically, have you understood? Larger part of this 90% portion or 95% portion is through recorder. This loop is something I added just now. Okay, and maybe one or two lines like sheets.add.name. This last row thing we added. And then we supplemented. We did a concatenate with the last row and such things. Apart from that, there is nothing which is new. So yeah. I would say 90%, very conservatively, 85 to 90%. I've used a recorder. I did a recording and I just adapted to my recording. I did testing. While doing testing, issues came, I solved them. And now my macro is ready. A fairly workable macro. This can be polished further maybe, but a fairly workable macro is ready. Okay, have you understood this? I will arrange to send this file at the end of this session. I'll send it to Vinayak sir and probably in turn he can share it. He can perhaps upload it and WRC can upload it. WRC can share that link so that this macro becomes is available for reference for your study. Got it, everyone? I hope you have understood this exercise of Benford's law. Great. Now I'll take the same example actually. I'll take the same example and I would also like to demonstrate what if we want to do it without recorder. So just from a learning's perspective, we have anyways gathered here for learning, correct? And today is, I don't know what's the session number. Today might be the 8th session or something. So we are like 80% down. In that case, let us also take a taste of how to write the macro from scratch, this kind of a macro without recorder. I won't really recommend it when you yourself are doing it. When you yourself are doing it, base it largely on recording, the way I demonstrated, the way we did it last time. And today also, I think some of you at least have done it with me, the remaining portion. Anyways, 90% job is done by the recorder, 10% is something you need to fix. But eventually you would like to graduate to that level, correct? Where you write everything from scratch. Because one bad thing about recorder is too much of code. Look at the lines. So many lines got generated unnecessarily, right? So can we economize a bit on this? Can we make a smaller, crisper macro? At least when you and me are connected, we should attempt that, right? No harm in attempting it. So can we try this from scratch? And I'll be honest with you. When I try to do it from scratch, I don't necessarily always make use of Excel features. They are there and I can use them. But if I want, I can do it by myself also. So a chart is needed maybe. But for summary, do I need pivot table? The answer is yes. I can use that. But I mean, one answer could be yes. But another answer could be no. So we will now for the remaining, we have about 45-50 minutes at least. So what we can do is we can try writing this macro once more from scratch. And while doing that, let us see if we can avoid the pivot table. So a totally different approach. See, because when it is pivot table, let me tell you, the user is knowing that you are using Excel. Can we just give him like a magical thing? The user knows there is a pivot table that is used. You have put it in first row, and this is the first digit in rows and first digit in values. And this is what Excel has produced. So more from a wow factor, the user should have a wow factor. So can we give him the results directly? Okay. So keeping all these things in mind, let's have a fresh approach towards this, and probably we'll have some learnings on the way. So now I request everyone to do this part once more with me. And this time we are not going to use recorder. We'll keep it aside deliberately and we'll try to compose it from zero. You can open the macro code library if you prefer. Library is something you can always open. Just open and keep it for your reference, macro code library. This also I need to unblock. All right. Project Explorer, I'll still stick to this module 1. And in fact, I'll insert another module. Let me not confuse them. So I'll go to View Properties window, and I would like to insert one more module. By the way, I would like to rename this. So, looking at the module 1 is not a great name. If I click on this, I can see module 1 in the properties window. It's not a great name. Can I rename it in a better way? So I'll call it Benford _ recorder. This is using the recording. Okay, we have recorded it. Can we insert one more macro here? And insert another module. So now that has been renamed as module 1. I'll rename it as Benford _ manual. So we have manually typed it. So this is through recorder. And this is something we'll type Benford _ law. Okay, a new module. Make sure you are inserting it in the right project. Look at the project, and below that project, you need to select your project and then click on insert module. Then it will become a part of that project. Okay, Benford manual, is everyone with me? Create a new module and let us write a new macro. So I'll write Benford _ manual and press enter. So Benford's law, which is getting this macro, is being developed manually. Okay, I'll try to keep it a little slow, allowing you also to write it with me. But don't worry if you find it very challenging to write along with me. You may decide not to write. I'm not recommending that. Okay, as the first thing. As the first thing, I want you to write with me. But just in case you find that too confusing, like writing and then mentally processing also, then I want you to focus on the this thing. You pay attention and you'll try to understand. Once you understand, then offline you can write at your own pace. That you can attempt. Okay, so here we have the data. Again, I'm going to not really write it from scratch 100% because to a certain extent I have incorporated those elements in the previous macro also. So one challenge was determining the last row and dragging the formula till below. Okay. So what I can do is I can come to my previous recorder thing and we can determine the last row, correct? This first two lines I'll copy from there. Sheets data dot select. Anyways, I composed them manually. They were not recorded. This last row thing was my composition, right? So I copy from here and I make that as my first two lines. Okay, please do that along with me. At least this much part you can do. We had finished this last time itself. Okay, a new subroutine with the name Benford underscore manual, which is anyways a part of Benford manual also. And then I copy paste this from recorder. Recorder first two lines I copy and I paste them here. What will happen now? We know the last row. Now here, what we did thereafter, we wrote the header. Okay, fine. So this part also I can actually copy paste. Range n1 dot select active cell dot formula r1 c1. Fair enough. This also I can kind of copy paste. Okay, I got this. Now there is the formula. Okay, range n1 dot select. I put this. Do you really need to even select it? In fact, I can write it in a better way. What I'll do is I'll just do a backspace. I'll not write it this way because here you are selecting and then you are putting in the active cell the formula. Not bad, but just another idea is don't even select it. It could be any other cell. We are basically talking about first row, 14th column, correct? So I prefer to use cells. Okay, cells, first row and 14th column. You can write it this way also. Further economy, actually. Why to write two lines when you can write it in one line? We are learning this. I'm not saying that writing in two lines is wrong. Okay, but I want you to open your eyes to this also. This can be another way. This can be a little more efficient, a little economy of lines. So 1 comma 14 is first digit. Okay, we got it. Next part was, what was the next part? This formula which was dragged till below. So can we have a code for it? So my preferred way is I use loop. For I equal to 2 to last row. We have already determined last row, correct? And please, 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 this last row should not be typed like this. You should copy from here. It will give you a temporary compile error. Okay. Let this line turn red for a minute. Come here. You highlight and copy and you paste it here. For I equal to 2 to last row, I've written for. My habit is I press enter twice, thrice, and I'm going to write next I immediately. For and next go as pairs. I write both the lines immediately. What am I going to write? So I'll borrow from here. It was active cell dot formula. I'll copy this. And I'll paste it here. And instead of active cell, I'll say cells I comma 14. Maybe I went a little fast. Okay, catch up till here. Okay, catch up till here. I hope the first three lines are clear to you. What I did just now is I created a loop from running from second row to last row. Okay, I'm creating a loop. Use loops because loops can be very short in size. And from first row till last row, I am just putting this formula. Cells I, 14. Okay. This is interesting. I'm not talking about active cell. I'm not even activating the cell. I don't know which is the active cell. Active cell could be different. Doesn't matter. But what I'm doing is I go to the ith row and the 14th column, and in that I put this formula. Which formula? This formula. And this will be dragged till below. Not dragged rather, but reproduced till below. Dragged won't be the right way. So just in 3 lines, we are putting the formula in every cell. Here we had more lines. So N2 was selected, in that active cell the value was put, and then right till here, including application.cut copy mode equal to false, which was a wasteful line. I mean, totally irrelevant line, but it did get generated, right? No denial about that. Here only relevant 3 lines are there. Everyone clear till here? Okay, I'll just copy paste this much portion for everybody's ready reference.
Yes.
I'm not writing the sub and end sub, but the other 3, first 6 lines, these are my first 6 lines. Okay, for quick reference, those who want, you can just copy paste from here and do the further part with me. Then, now the formula is gone till below. Now we are ready for a so-called pivot table. Achha, before that, do we have a sheet called pivot? Okay, while I will not really create a pivot table, but just to save time, I will keep the sheet name as pivot only. So eventually I'll have sheets.add.name where I'll do the working. Okay. So first of all, I will just check whether there is any existing file. This I have already typed. I'll not retype it. I'll not reinvent the wheel. I'll just copy this portion. This much portion I'll just copy. I'll come to this part and I'll paste it. Okay, this is something necessary that you run through each sheet and check whether the name is pivot. Then you turn off the display alerts, delete it, turn it back, and then exit for. It is necessary. This also I'll paste it here in the chat box. Okay, second part also I have pasted. These are unavoidable lines. You can't help them. They are efficient by themselves already. Okay, this is for next. There are 2 for next loops. You might ask me why we have used I. Will it be a problem? That won't be a problem. You can use I n number of times. Okay, if you want, if you don't like it, then you can use a different variable also. There is no compulsion you should use I. You can use J or you can use anything else. Okay. So this part is also over. This is just detecting whether there is any sheet called pivot. If there is a sheet called pivot, it can be deleted. Then I am going to add a sheet called pivot. Okay, I'll just copy and paste that line. This line also we typed the other day. This was not present. We borrowed it from our library and we typed it or we pasted it. And the subsequent part is through recorder, which I find this is like mind boggling. So many lines. Why they got generated at all? From this line onwards till this line, we are only creating a pivot table. Till here. Okay, even if I remove the green lines, we are only talking about the pivot tables primarily. That's too much. Pivot table is supposed to be very efficient by itself because it's a ready-made functionality of Excel. We are not even calculating anything by us. Still, defining the pivot table itself is taking so many lines, highly inefficient. What I would like to do is I would like to compute the figures by myself. Okay. Say we already have this formula. We already have the digits. The formula has been copy pasted. By the time we arrive here, we already know the digits, right? Where is it? We already have the first digit. Can we derive a count of them? So you might think of countif function, you might think of pivot tables. Let me show you, let me take this opportunity to discuss with you how you can make certain calculations in the memory of macro. You don't have to every time leave behind the trail of what you are doing. Okay, in Excel sheet, like pivot table. We are leaving behind the trail that we created a pivot table. Why should you leave behind that? Okay, let the user feel it's a magic or something. You should directly get the result. If you don't agree with the result, cross check. You will get it tallied. Okay. So my suggested method for this is again through a loop. We do a very simple thing. We just make a count. We just try to count. We know that the last row number is stored in this variable called last row. So again, it's going to be the same thing. For I equal to. Now this is loop inside loop actually. For I equal to 1 to 9. Now this is going to be a little interesting. If you want, don't really write the subsequent portion. I'll give you in the form of copy paste. You can copy paste it later when it comes to writing effort. Copy paste it later from the chat box. But devote your full energies in understanding what is happening. So I'm going to start from for I equal to 1 to 9. And I'll just press enter twice, thrice. And write here next time. Okay. For I equal to 1 to 9. Why 1 to 9? Because I've got 9 digits, right? I need to create an equivalent of pivot table from 1 to 9. Okay. I want to create it that way. Now, I need to derive the count for that, right? I need to derive the count here. And where is the count? Count is something I'll count here. I'll run through this entire range and see how many ones are there. For example, I'm talking about digit 1. I'll run through this entire range and let me understand how many ones are there. So I create one more loop and now I cannot use I because this is loop inside a loop. So I'm using J. For J equal to 2 to last row. Next J. Okay, this is loop inside loop. Many times we create loops inside loop. For I equal to 1 to 9, within that for J loop. Now you cannot have next J after next time. It will be confusing. It will be incorrect logically. Okay, because this loop should be entirely inside your outer loop. This is your outer loop, this is your inner loop. So inner loop must start and end inside. If you have next J after next time, that's a logical error. What am I doing? For J equal to 2 to last row, what I'm doing is I'm just just going to compare. Okay. So I'll call it first digit itself. So I'll use the variable 1 st digit. So this is first digit. First digit equal to worksheets. Just try to understand this logically. Don't type. Okay, give 100% attention to understand. The sheet name is data, right? Worksheets data. Dot cells. Which row? It's going to be the jth row. Okay, I'll pick up the jth row and 14th column's value. Okay, the row is the jth row and column will be the 14th column, whichever it is. Jth row value. That I capture in a variable called first digit. So I have captured whatever is the first digit. Oh, it's separating by itself. If I write first, can I write? So I'll just write first underscore digit. Okay, I'll use a variable called first underscore digit. Okay, underscore I use sometimes. First underscore digit is this. Are you understanding? This I'm just capturing this value and I'm going to compare that with I. I'm going to compare that with I. So I'm saying if first underscore digit equal to small I, then counter equal to counter plus 1. I'm using a counter. We had used this command last time also. This trick we had to use last time also. Counter equal to counter plus 1. What is the initial value of counter? We have not given any initial value. It may not be a bad idea to give an initial value. So I'll put it before the J loop. Okay, before I start the J loop, when I start with digit 1, okay, just think about it logically. I'm starting with digit 1. Okay, the digit is 1 and I define my counter as 0, or I initialize the value as 0. So to begin with, it is 0. Then I start a J loop wherein I am running through all these numbers. Okay, starting from second row onwards. And I capture the first digit. And the first digit, if that happens to be identical to small I, in that case, I increment the value of counter by 1. To begin with, counter is 0. And then its value will get incremented to 1. That's it. That's all I'm going to do in this J loop. I'll capture the first digit and I'll compare that with I. If it is found to be equal, then I'll increase the counter. What if it is not found to be equal? I don't do anything. I go to next J. So for example, to begin with, I is 1. But then very first number is 9. I don't do anything. I go ahead. The next number is 1. So my count is 1. The next number is 8. So then it will become, I'll skip this. I'll skip this. Then the next number is 1. Now the count is 2. Then I skip the next one. Then a 1. So count is 3 and so on. So I'll keep counting. When I come across 1, I'll be increasing my counter by 1. It's like a tally mark. I'll put a tally mark and I will keep counting. I'll finish this entire range till last row. And believe me, this happens very briskly. You might feel that, oh, Excel is doing so much work, it will take time. Excel is going at its own speed. So this will happen very briskly. And eventually I'll get the count. Okay, at the end of the J loop, when this entire J loop is over, what I have is the count of I. Correct. So what I'll do now is I'll now create a table, just like Benford's table. Now I've got the count of I. I need to place it. So what I'll do is I've got a new sheet like pivot. Okay, I've already added a sheet for pivot. So I'm going to write here. Okay, after next day. Before next time, but after next day, I'm going to write worksheets pivot. Else. Now here's an interesting part. Where are you going to write it? Just imagine this is a blank sheet. Okay, a blank sheet called pivot. So imagine this name is pivot. This is blank. There is no pivot table actually. Where will you write it? Will you write it in the very first cell, very first row? Probably you will leave it for headers. You will start writing from the second row. So in second row, you will have 1. In the third row, you will have 2. In the fourth row, you will have 3 and so on. Like this, you will make your table, correct? So it's always the row number is 1 more than the digit. Row number is 1 more than the digits. Row number is 1 more than the digit. So I'm going to write here that says I plus 1. Okay, don't write anything if you prefer. Just understand whether you are getting this I plus 1. Why am I writing I plus 1? Because the digit 1 will be written in second row. Digit 2 will be written in third row. So it's I plus 1. Column worksheets pivot dot cells I plus 1 comma 1. Over here you will enter the value of I. If you are doing it for I and I as such will run between 1 to 9. Whatever is the digit? Okay, for 9 digits you are going to derive the count. If for 9 digits you are going to derive the count, then you need to plot it somewhere, right? The digit. So in the I plus 1th digit, in the I plus 1th row, sorry, Okay, I plus 1th row, you are going to put I. This is the digit. So digit has been placed, suppose. Beside the digit, you need to put the actual frequency, correct? And in fact, you want the frequency in percentage terms. So what you will do is I'll just copy paste this. Okay, for convenience. And this first column I'll make it second column. Everything else is same, the same sheet, the same row. But now in the second column, what am I going to put? So now I've got the counter here. I've got the counter here. After running through entire G, counter has assumed some value, some count. So I'll take the counter and I'll divide by the total. What is the total? So total is last row basically. How many numbers you have? So last row is the last row, correct? So last row itself is the total count. Okay, total number of records. Just that there is a header row at the top, correct? So we need to subtract that. Apart from header row, last row, if last row is 2359, that means you have 2358 count. So you need to do a -1. Okay, last row is already a count, but it is including header. If you don't want header, then you'll have to do a -1. So to get that precision, what I'll do is I'll divide it by last row -1 in a pair of round brackets. So this is my calculation. See whether this is making sense to you logically. Okay, is everybody with me or am I going too fast? Okay, are you getting it logically? Don't write it. Don't waste your energy in writing it. I'll send this macro. Okay, but let's participate in this logic discussion process. Here I'm putting I and here I'm putting the count, but I'm not interested in the count per se. What I want is I want this thing, na? What is it? I want the percentage. So I'm doing that here. And then the last thing is Benford's percentage. So I'll just copy paste here. And this column, instead of the same row, but the column will be third column. In the third column, what am I going to do? In the first column, it is I. In the second column, it is the actual proportion. In the third column, it will be the Benford's law proportion. How do I get the Benford's law proportion? What I do ordinarily in Excel is I use the log10 feature, log10 function. I use the function log10 and I derive it. So now I'm just curious, can I use it inside? I'm doing it in Excel sheet. That way I'm leaving behind a trail of what work I'm doing. Instead of that, can I do it virtually over here in memory? So I'll check. So there is something called as application.worksheet function. I think we discussed it last time in one of the earlier sessions. Okay, if you type application dot worksheet function, if you press tab, then if I put dot, let us see whether we have log10. We are lucky. We have log10 function. So log10 function you can use virtually also. You don't have to really insert that in cell compulsorily. You can use it as a part of calculation in your macro. So I'm going to put log10. Log10 has got how many arguments? It has got only one argument. You need to give me the number and then Excel will give you the base 10 logarithm. So just give the number. What is the number? As per Benford's law, the number is 1 plus 1 by n. If you're looking for probability of n, it is 1 plus 1 by n. In our case, we are denoting it by small I. So I'm going to write here 1 plus 1 divided by small I. Can I do it that way? Okay. So now my table is getting compiled. Can you see that? Logically. This is the blank sheet. Here the digits will come. Here the actual proportion. Here Benford's proportion. That will come. Thanks to this formula. So this has been put for the first digit. This you put for the second for the first digit, the second column, first digit, the third column. That's it. Then next I should get executed. You are finished as far as the first digit is concerned. Then next time means now I will become 2. So you will come back. Now think logically. You have reached till this stage. Next time is you will go back. It's a for next loop. So you'll go back here and then the I value will automatically become 2 and then your counter is reset to 0. This is very important. Otherwise what will happen? Suppose there are 300 ones. Then once you start with 2, if you don't put this command, then 2 will start with 301. So it will become a cumulative frequency and it will be disastrous. Your calculation will be totally wrong. So you need to reset this to 0 before you begin. That's happening here. And only when you reset it to 0, then you start with your for next, this for next loop of j. Then again you run through this, you capture the first digit, you compare with I. Now your I value is 2. Wherever it is 2, then counter is getting incremented by 1. Eventually you will come here. Now the value of I itself is 2. So 2 plus 1 will be third row. In the third row you will come and you write 2. Then you will put the actual proportion, whatever it is. The denominator will always be last row minus 1. Numerator will be whatever is the revised value of counter. And then this is the last thing where you put the Benford's law calculation. Okay. So at the end of it, we'll get the calculation. And then if you want, we can get the chart also. For chart, I think we'll have to copy from here. Pivot table we skip completely. Not needed. But chart we can copy from here. There also we don't have to do a paste special. We can directly copy from here and we'll change the range suitably. And this if you want, you can just copy. Per chart. Okay, sheets.add.name equal to pivot. So pivot is the active sheet. Then this entire loop, you are not changing the sheet anywhere. So the active sheet is still pivot. And that you are inserting a chart. What is your source data? Your source data will be from A2 because now you are doing it from the second row. So from A2 till A10, correct? Not A10 rather. Not A2, B2, sorry, because in A column we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So from B column B2 till C10. This is where you will have the actuals and this thing. Okay, this is your actual. So from B2 cell till C10, all 9 digits will be there, and this is where you will have it. So I'm going to just change this to B2. Starting from B2 going up to C10. 9 digits. 10 minus 2 plus 1 will be 9. So 9 digits are covered. So that is your source. And this is what we get. Finally, we can close this by putting a message box. What we did not have in the previous macro was a message box. Why not a message box here? Message box will look elegant. You can put up a message box saying that, what should we say? Benford's. Put any suitable message. I'm just typing something that comes to my mind. Benford's law. Positions and chart have been defined. Whatever, I leave this to you, okay? What should be the prompt of the message? is your prerogative, you decide. Just put something logical and that will tell the user that this is over. It's done. Okay. And one more thing, I was just forgetting that, but we should put the headers also. Okay, so we are putting the numbers here 1, 2, 3, 4. But what about the headers? You would like to put the headers. So first you put all the numbers. Once they are ready, then you can put the header. So before the chart, I would like to write the headers. And what I do often is if you want to write headers, you are going to write it for this itself, right? So I copy it and I make suitable changes. How do I put headers? I'll tell you. What are the records? These are the records. So I copy the lines for records. And in header, what will happen? You will not have I plus 1 row. You will only have first row. The header row is generally the first row. So first row, first column, first row, second column, first row, third column. Okay, so your work gets saved. You just do a copy paste, the same sheet, almost the same structure, only thing the row is fixed, row is first row, column is 1, 2, 3. And what header? So you write the digit in a pair of double inverted comma. If you simply write digit, then this is a variable. No, we are not talking about a variable. So digit in a pair of double inverted commas. Since these are headers, it's static values, particular values you write. The next header is proportion or actual percent. Right? Benford's law percent. As simple as that. That's it. I've got the headers also. So everything has been written. I've got this entire macro composed from scratch. Okay. I did it at my own pace, honestly. And this I'll arrange to share with you all. But we have taken a taste of it now. Subroutine Benford manual where I
So
say
the percent function is not required.
percentage function is not there. So if we want, we can put that also. I think this I'll borrow from good point. I'll borrow from recorder. So we can just copy this line. Okay, only this much line we can copy. And in fact, these two lines I'll copy and I'll make suitable changes. Okay, selection dot number format I copy from here. Where will I paste it? So after all my figures are compiled, I've put the headers also. I'll paste it here. And I'll just do one thing. I'll just reorder it. So I'll first select the range. Maybe for some other reason it was selected. Now I'll select it once more. Starting from B2 cell and going up to C10. Okay, where my chart is ultimately. Okay, my chart is from B2 to C10. The same numbers, same range I'm going to select. And for that, the number format will be percentage. This is also done. This is also highlighted. Okay, good observation. That means you are actually paying attention. Good. Okay, logically, are you following this? Okay, let's examine it again from top to bottom logically. We first of all come to the sheets data. We determine the last row, and we have in the same sheet in the first row, we have put this header called first digit. Then we put this formula. We used a loop to copy paste it right till last row. From second row to last row, we put this formula. R1C1 notation helps us. Then we run through all the sheets and check whether there is any existing pivot sheet. Okay, I wouldn't have used the name pivot. I would have used the name maybe Bedford's law working or something. But right now, just to save time, I'm using the same name. Okay, so wherever I see this name pivot, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to turn off the display alerts, delete it, then again turn them on, then exit the loop. No point in continuing further. Let's get out. And now that sheet is very much deleted, or it was simply absent. So now I insert a sheet called pivot. Over there, I run a loop for digits from here till here. Within that, I set counter equal to 0 and I run another loop for J. Where it goes from the second row to last row, it compares the first digit with I. captures the first digit. If first digit is I, then you are incrementing the counter. You are making a calculation internally. What pivot table is doing, you are doing the same thing actually. Do you have to do it this way? I'm not saying that way. You can use pivot table also. Maybe when you are doing it 100% by yourself, you can do it that way. But I'm opening up your minds that way. My whole endeavor behind redoing this part was to open up your minds how things can be done. And then eventually we compile. Once we get out of the J loop, all the values have been examined. Now whatever is your count, you just record it. So we write the ith digit first. Then we record the proportion counter divided by last row minus 1. And the Benford's law of proportion, we compute it then and there using small I. Small I is in the denominator. 1 plus 1 by n. That is inside log 10 function. So 10 base 10 logarithm we get. That comes in. These be then this is repeated for each digit next time. So you do it for digit 1, then come up, then the counter is first reset to 0. You do it for digit 2, record it. Automatically 2 plus 1 will become 3. It will be recorded in third row. Third digit 3 plus 1 is 4. It will be recorded in fourth row. Eventually, when you finish between first row to ninth row, then you come to this in the first row of the sheet. Sorry, from first digit to ninth digit, and then come to the first row, and then you write the headers. Headers are in double quotes. Then you select this range. Its number format is percentage. Then you put up a chart. The source data for that chart is this from the pivot sheet. And then you make it a little bigger and eventually flash this message. Flash a message to confirm to the user that the work is over and now over to the user. That's it. One more thing we can do is, I was almost forgetting. Another thing that we learned, eventually once you finish your macro, I normally do this after testing and debugging, but let me anyways finish this. So display alerts false. We had seen this last time, I think. The application that display alerts equal to false at the beginning. And just before the message box, I make it true. If it is a message box, I make it true before the message box. So the user gets to see, otherwise user gets thoroughly confused. He feels that it is not over, but still it is saying it is over. So let us update the screen once and show him. Sorry, display alerts I wrote. Why display? Screen updating. Sorry, my bad. Extremely sorry. Screen updating was what I was hinting at actually. Not display alerts. Screen updating I turn off. So this is only to increase the efficiency, not mandatory. Again, if you don't do this, then user will get to see how things are going up and down. Do you want to show it that way? It's a big question. Okay, so this is the code in front of you. This is how I would write. At this stage, I will write it completely first, logically, and then I'll start testing process. I don't recommend that necessarily. I've given you a flavor of that, but probably you can write 3-4 lines. First line, these 3 lines, test them immediately. Do they work? Then write this loop, test it. Does it work? Write this loop, test it. Then this line you can write, no need to test it necessarily. But then you write this loop and first test this part. Then you come to this. You relieve yourself from one by one. Like do one thing, test it, relieve yourself there, then move ahead. Okay, so you can develop this in part by part. Today I might have developed it from the entire thing in one go, but take it one thing at a time. Okay, any questions on this? In this development, anybody has any questions? We'll do the testing of this next time. And before that, definitely I'll arrange to share this file with you all so that you'll get to see both the macros. You can probably go through them offline. Okay, but before we do the testing, and I mean before we do that in the next session. Anybody has any questions on this logic? Are you understanding the logical discussion that I made here? Forget the writing of the code. Writing of the code is something you will eventually catch up. The logical discussion is most important. Anyone has any questions on that? I can take it up. Any questions, anybody? Logical questions on this logic. In this thought flow, the flow that we have designed, are you convinced about that? Whether it works or no, we will test. Maybe in testing, one or two issues will come. But broadly speaking, the flow, does it make sense to you? No questions?
You're sharing the code through cut paste.
I beg your pardon?
Are you going to share that code through cut paste or you'll share the file later?
Okay, I can share the entire code right
Yeah,
away.
at the loop. Yeah, from the loop. If you can.
The entire thing, in fact, right from Control A, Control C is what I've done. For your immediate reference. Okay, the whole thing I have pasted in the chat box. You can make a copy of it at your end. You can start going through it. But I will also arrange to send the file additionally. Okay, go through it. If you have any logical points, and when I say go through means read it mainly and see whether you understand and see whether logically it makes sense. If you have any questions on that, you can note it down. Maybe nothing comes to your mind now, but tomorrow it could be a different thing. Note it down. Day after tomorrow, we'll connect once more. That time we will discuss it further. Okay. So we'll see that at that point of time. Any other questions? Maybe there is a burnout experience after so much of discussion. Yes. Vinayak sir, I think there are no questions. I'm getting
Yes, sir.
everything.
I would like to thank our speaker, Shri Nachiket Pendakar sir, for his excellent presentation and explaining the various functions related to Excel macro. I would like to also thank WRC staff for their continuous support, all the participants. Now our next session is on Wednesday from 7 to 9:30. I will request all to join for the same. Thank you.
Vinayak sir,
Good night to
Vinayak sir,
all.
one small request.
Yeah.
Vinayak sir, one small request, sir. Nachiket sir will be now sharing this this portion of the code which has been developed. So those people who could not have taken it from the chat box, we would like to take it tomorrow itself and do some practice before Wednesday session. So if you can do it early tomorrow morning itself, that would be very helpful.
The chat box, what you want exactly?
The file basically. He's asking for the file.
Nachiket sir will be sharing the file now.
I'll send this file right away to you, but you will require some time. The WRC staff will require some time.
No, the
So
thing
it's
is that to each and can you sir able to share the same file on the chat box so they can be download from there. It will be better in that
Okay,
option.
so can everyone just hang on for a minute? I'll do one thing.
Yeah,
I'll
that
just
will be better because it
at
will be
my end.
difficult for us to send to each and everyone
Yes.
by tomorrow.
Requesting everyone to hang on for a minute. Don't really exit the meeting.
Yeah.
I'll upload it on my Google Drive and I'll share the link right away. If just somebody is having energies, he or she can check it tonight itself. If you are
Yeah, that will be better,
Maybe.
sir.
But
either that or
now
definitely tomorrow, as per your
now
plan.
itself we will
Just give me a
download
minute.
anyway. Now itself we will download anyway. Please. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I was just kidding. But then at the very least, tomorrow you can see that. And let me just upload it for now.
So that will be very helpful. Thank you.
Just give me a minute. hang on, please don't exit the meeting. Where is it? Just a minute. I think I'm confused in this. It'll be pasted over here for future reference also it will be easy. Okay. So I'm just uploading that. It has got uploaded. Now I just convert it into a link which I can share with everybody. Okay, link has been created. I have shared a link with everyone. Okay, you can see if you can download it right away. The link has been shared. If you click and you download, it's hardly any KBs. Not even half an MB.
I will request all to download the link immediately. So
Badresh ji, the link has been pasted now.
yeah, it is there.
Yes, is everyone getting the file? Just put
It is
yes or no in
taking
the chat.
time to download. It is taking time to download.
Okay. Once you are through, once you have it downloaded at your end, just put a confirmation chat message in the chat box.
Yeah.
So Arun ji has downloaded it. Others also just confirm so that we'll know that it is working. Okay, Brijesh ji could also download. Shailaja ji could download. Very good. So I think that link is working. So this is a good idea. Any material to be shared, I can any day.
Yeah, because what happens, sir, it is difficult to share next day morning.
Correct.
Because
Next
we have
day
to
morning,
download, we have
you'll have
to
to run to the database.
run the everything, then download the chat box, and then it is not so simple to send immediately.
Compiling the email IDs and all.
Yeah, all the data need to be compiled, and then only we can able to send.
Yes.
Vinayak sir, that attendance link, please. I think I could not do that.
What?
Can you?
Great.
Attendance link?
Attendance. You please write in the chat box.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay. If anybody has forgotten to mention your name and membership number, I will request all to mention your name and membership number in chat box for attendance purpose.
Sir, I am unable to find the chat box now.
Why? Whether everybody able to download the file?
Yes, everyone was able to download it. I think people had already many had already put it in the name and membership number in the chat box.
Yeah. I will
Actually, now
also
I'm
request. Yes.
sir, I am using through the mobile now this time, and I'm unable to find the chat
Do
box in
one
this.
thing. Do one thing. You write a mail to wrc.admin@icmai.in. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. My name is
Yeah,
Girish
you
Kumar.
mention in that. You mention.
Yes, sir.
We will
Thank
give
you,
you the
sir.
credit.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I
You
think
can
we
also
are.
able to see the video, recorded video on our YouTube channel, ICAI-WRC space CMA. I think everybody has downloaded it. Okay. Good night and thanks. And please join for next session on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.